Hi, it's Christine Raven here. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Illinois, and throughout the week I have been posting different videos and things to help you combat some of your anxiety that can be associated with what's going on around us. And so today's video, I wanted to try and put things into perspective and to try and help you better understand why our fears are present right now and what's going on in our brain, as well as give you another tool on how you can try and address some of those thought patterns that might be occurring at the moment. And so to help it put it into perspective, I want you guys to imagine that your brain is a lot like the filing cabinets that you might have at home or you might have in your office. And each of these filing cabinets have different folders that might have pre-labeled experiences that you've had throughout your life. Okay, so as you continue to experience things day to day, you can just go and tuck it into that same file folder with other experiences that are similar. Now, what happens when a new experience occurs and we have nothing else to relate that to, we have to then put a new file folder into our brain. And that is kind of what is happening right now with the coronavirus. A lot of us have never experienced something in this magnitude before. And so what we're having to do is we're having to create that new experience in our brain and figure out where to file it. And so we don't have very many individuals around us who can give us some guidance on what to expect with the coronavirus, because a lot of them are still creating their own file folders themselves throughout the world as we speak. And so we have very little information to kind of help us prepare in our decision-making process on how we're going to react or what we're going to do about the things going on around us. Now, when we have no other experience to correlate to what we're experiencing now, it can elicit a fear of the unknown. And so this fear is kind of innate in us as a defense mechanism because it helps us to be more cautious in situations in which we don't know what to expect. But it can also trigger our fight, flight, or freeze response. And now this is also another survival skill that is within us, and it helps us to, survive moments where there is a threat, but it also helps us survive moments where there are perceived threats. And when this response is activated, it shuts down our frontal cortex in our brain. And now this part of the brain is responsible for suppressing socially inappropriate behaviors, and it's also responsible for regulating our reasoning, our judgment, and our impulse control. And so this can explain why you see some of the individuals that you know to be overall brilliant individuals on a day-to-day basis making some decisions that don't really make much sense to you right now, because in that state of panic we decrease our ability to make good judgment, we decrease our ability to regulate our impulse control, to reason with other individuals, and to adhere to some of those socially appropriate behaviors. Okay, so some of the reasons that we have a fear of the unknown is because we lose a lot of control in those situations. If we don't know what to expect, we cannot prepare for the consequences that come with our decisions. In day-to-day life, if we know the consequence, it helps us to make that decision. If I tell you the consequence of putting your hand on a hot stove is you're going to get burnt, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do it. And so in these moments, we can also lose our sense of security. We need to have control and we need to feel secure in order to feel like we are going to survive. And so maybe you've been laid off and rent is due, so you're starting to worry. Maybe you've been to a country that's been infected and you're starting to cough, and you have that knowledge already to know that that's a symptom of the virus, and this virus has been known to kill people. You can see where that can elicit some panic. When we don't know what to expect, we try to mentally prepare for every single possibility in our minds, and this usually comes across as what we like to call what-if questions. And so we ask ourselves these what-if questions to try and figure out, okay, what if this happens, then this is how I'm going to prepare. What if that happens, this is how I'm going to prepare. And in many occasions where a sense of security is weakened, we tend to only focus on the negative, because if the negative happens, our ability to survive decreases. So how many of you have ever made the statement, well, if I prepare for the worst and it doesn't happen, I'm not out anything, but if it does happen, then I'm ready for it, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. This makes complete sense in your mind, but it's a distorted way of thinking, as this thought process still ignites anxiety, and it ignites stress, and it keeps you in an anxious state. And so you run the risk of stressing over something that may never even happen. And this increased amount of stress takes a toll on your mental and your physical health. It weakens your immune system, actually. And that is the complete opposite of what you need at this very moment. And so it's very important that we challenge these statements when they do occur. And so I've made a list of just some of the most common what-if statements we might be making right now. And so some of them can be, what if I get sick? That's a pretty common one, I think, is going on. And so in those moments, you're probably saying, what if I get sick? I'm gonna die. But to challenge that, what if I get sick could also be, okay, there's doctors out there that can help me. There are plans put in place to get tested. I can quarantine away from everybody, and I can also research the percentages of people who actually are okay with this. That percentage of the survival rate is way bigger than the percentage of people who die, okay? But in the media, we're only focused in on those numbers of people who are dying and those big, huge numbers of people that are popping up as positive, okay? The next one is, what if I lose my job? That's a big fear in a lot of people. And the what if, the answer that you're probably telling yourself is, if I lose my job, I can't pay for my rent, I can't pay my bills, I can't do all of these things, I can't do X, Y, and Z. When in reality is, they are working right now to enhance FMLA. They're putting other, things out there that can help protect you from losing your job. But we're not focusing in on that. We're focusing in more on what's going to go wrong. What if I can't pay my bills? Again, this is a very realistic, worry that people can have. There might be things that are put in place to help you pay your bills. There are other resources out there that we can look into, but we're not focused on that. We want to know what's going to happen right now. What if my loved one dies? Again, if you have an individual who is older, who contracts this, that probability and that risk is higher. However, there's no guarantee that just because an individual contracts coronavirus that they're automatically going to die. What if I run out of supplies during quarantine? This is a very big what if that can elicit panic. If you run out of supplies during quarantine and you can't, go out and get any more, are you going to starve? Or another what if is, what if I get the best supply, ever, and then nobody else has them and somebody comes to my house to try and take them from me? These are all eliciting panic. What if I touch someone or something that has the virus? In our minds, we're automatically saying we're gonna get sick. We're definitely gonna get sick if we touch somebody or we come within 6 feet of somebody who has the virus. That's not accurate. Washing your hands, being very, in tune with your hygiene, things like that, not touching your face, you do have control to an extent as to whether or not you might contract that. So you can see how all of these what if statements can elicit a lot of panic. But I'm challenging you now to change up the way that you're looking at this. What if I get sick? What if I don't get sick? What if I don't get sick? I have been given the opportunity to maybe stay at home with my children, to make memories, to have my children later on in life say, Mom, that was the coolest time ever because I got to stay at home with you. We built forts, we finger painted, we did all of these cool things. And I remember that being a vacation, whereas you remember it being one of the scariest times in your life. What if I lose my job? What if I don't lose my job? I work in a hospital, and I can almost guarantee you that we are going to be more in tune with what our neighbor next to us does in their job. We're going to be more appreciative. We are going to band together stronger than we ever have over something like this. So what if you don't lose your job? How is your job and your work experience going to be different after all of this? Are you going to be a tighter community of work family? What if my loved one dies? What if my loved one doesn't die? What if my loved one, survives this? What if everything is great and we come together and now I'm going and seeing my family members more than what I normally would have because I know what it's like to be scared that something bad might happen? What if I run out of supplies during quarantine? What if I don't run out of supplies during quarantine? Man, I'm not gonna have to go grocery shopping anytime soon. What if I, run out of supplies during quarantine? Right now you can go and still purchase those items, okay? What if I touch someone or something that has the virus? What if you don't touch someone or something that has the virus and you come out of this absolutely fine? We don't want to spend this time worrying, because what we're going to do is we're going to miss those opportunities. And so I challenge you that whenever these what if statements come into play, I want you to also say the complete opposite of the what if. What if everything's never going to turn back to normal? What if everything does return back to normal and eventually we're doing everything exactly the same way? We're back in our routine. We're back doing everything as we did before this. Challenge those. And so one of the ways in which we can challenge those is we first have to be able to understand and see that those thought patterns are even occurring. And so what we do is we do what is called the 3-point check. And you can do this at any time throughout the day. And, just stop. When you're washing your hands for that 20 seconds, do a 3-point check. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what am I doing? That'll help you better identify whether or not we're doing what if thought patterns. And that's prime time for you to challenge that with what is the positive what if, associated with thought pattern you're having right then, okay? Do it while you're washing your hands. Do it while you're in the shower. Do it while you're scrolling through Facebook and you get to a very negative post. Stop right there. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? I know a lot of our information's coming from social media. A lot of us are staying connected through social media. I don't know about you, but if you've ever looked at Facebook, they ask you that before you even make a post. They ask you one of those 3-point questions. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing? So in those moments throughout your day, check in on yourself. Do the 3-point checks and always try and challenge your what if statements with the opposite positive, okay? I hope that understanding what happens in the human brain a little bit better helps you to also give compassion to your neighbor, helps you understand how to see things the way that they're seeing it, and to know that physically, when you're in that state of panic, you can't make the world's best decisions. That alone should tell you how important it is for you to calm yourself, to stay regulated, because you want to be able to make the best choices ever. I hope this helped. If you need any additional information, any additional resources, please do not hesitate to get out to me. We're all in this together. Thank you.